What do these companies have in common? Stripe, Airbnb, DoorDash, Twitch, Dropbox, and a whole lot of brands you know and love are all alumni of Y-Combinator, the startup accelerator responsible for funding all these innovative products. Y-Combinator itself is an innovative business. They choose their startups based on personal interviews and product demos and never read business plans. Bulky and heavy business plans have traditionally been a symbol of a company that knows what it's doing, a company that has their business model described to the T. But in today's fast-paced startup culture, this is not what investors like Y-Combinator are looking for. They need to be sold on the idea, and your task is crafting it in a most concise and structured way. How do you do it? Glad you asked. Business model. Your startup outline on the business model canvas. A business model is a tool that describes the logic behind a company's actions, relationships, and objectives. A business model is simple and concise, like an elevator pitch. It should let anyone know how your business works from 4 perspectives: your customers, your offer, infrastructure, and financial viability. Who are your customers? What is it that you offer? What will you do to deliver that value to the customers? And finally, how are you going to generate income and minimize costs? This definition of a business model was proposed by business theorist Alexander Osterwalder and professor at the University of Lausanne, Yves Pigneur. They analyzed the work of many business experts and consolidated their ideas into one framework. They called it the business model canvas. Here's how it works. The canvas consists of 9 fields, drawing the fullest image of the future business model. Customer segments, value propositions, channels, customer relationships, revenue streams, key resources, key activities, key partnerships, and cost structure. Unlike 50-page-long business plans, the canvas is a one-slide presentation with answers to all the questions. It lacks detail, but it doesn't need any. It's created to be edited a lot and often invites collaboration, and can be used for any scale, from single products to whole enterprises. It's easier to understand the canvas if we draw a line in the middle of it, here. On the right, all those things that make up your business idea. It's the what of your product. On the left is the stuff that supports how this idea will come to life, the how of it. Both halves are connected right at the heart of the business, its value proposition. Go to your whiteboard or take a large sheet of paper. Draw a rectangle and divide it into 9 sections like this. Start from the right. That's where the customer is. Any strategizing begins with a customer or market you plan to target with your product. What is your product? When Pets.com, the most prominent failure of the dot-com era, shut down due to the lack of clients, did it mean that the online retail of pet products was doomed forever? Of course not. 10 years later, Chewy.com launched. Not only did it survive with Amazon as a competitor, Chewy got so big that today it has its own pet food brand and owns an online pet pharmacy. What's different? The timing. Buyer needs and behavior changed drastically over 10 years. Today, people spend more on their pets and they care a lot about the quality of pet food, just as they do when choosing human food. Also, the creator, Ryan Cohen, had a dog too, understood the appeal of brick-and-mortar pet stores, and realized how to deliver the same value online. What is a value, essentially? It's either quantitative, like offering a better price, or qualitative, as in a high-class customer experience. If your service is unique and new, that's also a value. And if it's something that's existed on the market before, you can bring value by doing it better. In the case of pet products, Amazon didn't offer anything better or new. It failed to realize how enthusiastic pet owners were. Chewy offered the same convenience but added expert 24/7 customer service and a personalized approach, transforming first-time buyers into repeat customers. Following the classic sales funnel, you need to decide how you will create awareness of your product, then help people understand its value and explain where they can get it. Don't forget about the delivery channel and after-sales communication to make sure that they return. Remember subscription boxes that created a new distribution model in the 2010s? They built massive awareness through influencer marketing and unboxing videos on YouTube, cashing in on the excitement of receiving a monthly package full of surprise items. The value was evident. The link to subscribe was always in the description below, and the whole point was that new customers would be committed to return. What makes customers return? Personal communication. If it's dedicated, if you know their name, past purchases, and remember to send a birthday gift or promo code, that's a win. But how do some brands create lifelong customers without ever speaking to them? Recommendation services like Netflix or Spotify imitate personal relationships by showing that they know a lot about you. Losing this connection and starting to use Apple Music, for example, is too much of a hassle as you have to build that relationship all over. Another option is providing a platform for different users to build relationships among themselves. BuzzFeed's cooking website, Tasty, has a tips section for each recipe, allowing people to engage with each other while the brand focuses on creating more content. And of course, you can engage users in co-creation. On Goodreads, book reviews are one of the most essential features, and they are written entirely by users. Users can add friends, create and share book lists, making the website alive and creating more value. But Goodreads and Tasty are free, so they have to figure out their revenue streams. Tasty sells kitchenware, cooking books, meal kits, and even produce. Their YouTube videos run ads, and sometimes they make sponsored recipes. Businesses like airlines have dynamic pricing, allowing them to change the price based on market demand. They also sell ancillary services. In their turn, flight booking websites like Expedia survive the competition by making prices lower, but they end up in profit thanks to unique resources. And this is where we transition to the left part of the canvas. How does your product work? If you're one of the many distribution channels, you have to set up the lowest price, but then the cost of resources should be low as well. In the case of booking websites, those are rates that are exclusively negotiated with airlines. Those are called intellectual resources. There are human resources in Expedia too. Someone has to answer customer calls and handle non-automated processes. There are also, of course, physical and financial resources. Creating value propositions, supporting customer relationships, and keeping your channels running will need different resources. The way you handle those resources is described using key actions. What does a company have to do to keep the business model working? Sometimes it's delivering pet food, or producing it, or managing an offline store. Sometimes it's continuously developing and maintaining a platform that thousands of people rely on every day. And sometimes it's providing your expert opinion to help people solve their problems. But not all activities that have to be done to run a business should be done by the business alone. To distribute efforts, a company creates partnerships. The main reason companies create partnerships is to optimize, sometimes even with the help from competitors. For example, a hotel can set up higher prices on its own website, but most travelers book via booking websites, so they publish their listings there too. The other classic situation is between buyers and suppliers, and sometimes they can be competitors too. An e-commerce business alone has dozens of partners, from payment systems to shipping companies to infrastructure support and even outsourced customer service. You can make it alone in the business world, but sometimes it's simply cheaper to team up. This is the last block of the canvas because the costs can be calculated only after understanding your resources, activities, and partnerships. Some business models are defined by their low costs. Low-cost carriers or even your local Dollar Tree have one big value. They are so cheap and the quality is as low as they can get away with. The opposite side of the scale are value-driven companies. They create value and ask for adequate pay. If they find a customer segment willing to pay for that, it's a win. But most businesses fall somewhere in between. They willingly minimize some costs but raise the ones that bring the most value. Many hotels just don't have marketing budgets to compete with Expedia, but they can drive up the value proposition and create firm, long-lasting relationships with their guests. How you will juggle your costs will determine how much profit you're gaining, and ultimately whether your model is working or not. This is a rough business model canvas of Uber, and this one is for LinkedIn. It helps to look at the canvases on the web and break apart the different business models of the top companies. What are the key activities of, say, Airbnb compared to a manufacturing company like Tesla? What's different in the Netflix and Hulu value propositions? Basically, how is this company successful? And how can you make yours successful too? Did you know that 90% of startups fail? Founders lack experience and are driven by passion. Their pricing is often inadequate and the planning is fuzzy. But most importantly, the product/market fit is just not there. The business model canvas allows you to bridge the gap between expectations and reality and act as a wake-up call for when you start chasing disruption and risking sustainability. Mature companies use the canvas to innovate and diversify. The canvas allows you to drive change, as it's easy to illustrate why certain business decisions make financial sense and which business model sectors are underdeveloped. And initially, the canvas makes it easier to learn. Exploring others' business models, analyzing past mistakes, prototyping, and testing can all be done without committing all of your time and money. What do you think? Do you think the canvas is actually helpful or overhyped? Either way, we hope you learned something new today. See you in the next one.